Hello and good morning. It's Thursday, the 28th of October. It's 8 a.m. here in the UK, and it's no doubt some different time elsewhere on the planet. We are broadcasting globally on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, no doubt, all over the world. And the sun, my friend, is just starting to rise over a rather grey Exeter this morning. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm safe and sound at home, Nick. The sun is rising. It looks gorgeous out there, actually. Hopefully today's going to be a nice day, but we're not here to report on the weather. We are here to report on what's happening in the world of business. Keep an eye on the weather, Nick. You never know.
I'll keep you posted, right? I'll keep you posted.
Well, yeah, we are here to report on business, what's happening around the world in the SMEs, the small to medium-sized enterprise world, of course, in the big and corporate world as well, and how it's affecting our lives, your lives, and everybody that's living and breathing today, because there's so much happening. There's good stuff, there's not so good stuff, and there's really bad stuff as well. And the Business Breakfast Show kind of brings all that together. It's your breakfast wrapped up in an hour, and we will be going through the papers shortly. We will be welcoming 3 guests this morning into the studio, find out a little bit more about their stories, how they're helping change the world as well, and the things that they've been up to in the recent weeks and months. And we're welcoming back a friend of the show onto the show this morning as well, and give us an update about the new project which is underway and due for launch in January. So we'll get an update on that soon. So how is Exeter, Nick? You're down there for a business conference which you're speaking at. You were broadcasting last night on the late night show from the hotel room. You're there this morning. Have you got up, washed, dressed, obviously, breakfast done? You ready and fighting to go today?
All sorted, mate. All sorted. Another busy day. It's great to be back on the road. Really looking forward to getting back on stage. You know, love that stuff. But yeah, all is well in Exeter. Yeah, I've put some more money in the car park, and we're good. We're good to go. Also, what's going on in the world, mate? It was actually quite a great show last night. By the way, thoroughly enjoyed that. Really powerful, impactful messages from our 2 guests. It's a real different take on what happens when business goes home. So if you missed that, ladies and gents, you missed a great show, but you can catch up. No problem. The technology enables you to catch up on some of the great and powerful conversations that we had yesterday evening.
Yeah, exactly. You can go to chatboxproductions.com. All the previous shows are there. You can go back and delve into the archives and find your favorite show, watch it again. Maybe someone says you need to watch this show. There's lots. I've got lots of great favorite shows and things that I'd be saying to people. For me, it's about the conversation. It's something what Chatbox is all about. It's about finding good content, good conversation, and bringing people up to speed of what's happening and how they can do something. So we always ask and I'm going to kind of put that out there for our guests in the back room now. We always ask our guests, for their top tip they could share with our listeners and viewers today. So be prepared for that. That's a question I will ask you. What's your top business tip? And of course, if you're out there watching this, what's your top business tip? Tell us in the chat box. Put it in there. What would you tell your younger self if you could go back in time and leave a message for your younger self? What would you leave that message saying? Or what advice would you give to a new startup business, someone that's just begun and launched their business? What's in the news? Let's have a look at that. This week, I've dug through the archives of papers from this morning. Let's have a quick flick. We're not going to go into any detail on these, but let's put them up on the screen. We'll start with something which is nothing to do with the budget. Yesterday was the budget. The Sun is reporting they've kept away from the budget apart from that top right-hand corner. I've ballooned to 15 stone on a diet of wine, beer, and chicken wings. Now I've knocked it on the head. Really interesting there how the Sun are taking a very different stance on the front page today, because everybody else, including the Mirror, champagne for rich, real pain for the poor. Cheers, Rishi, on a mission to cut taxes. The Guardian, Sunak's post-COVID plan, spend now, cut taxes later. And finally, the Daily Star. I left this one to last. This is my favourite. It looks like we've got part 4 of The Hangover coming, starring our Prime Minister and Chancellor. They're going to be starring the next Hangover. So watch out for that coming to a screen near you. But of course, yes, the conversation is all. I know that's why I left it the best one to last. The conversation is all around is all around the budget. Now, I've done a little bit of research on the budget. I don't know if you've had much time whilst you've been down in Exeter, Nick, to see what's happening out there. In fact, what we should have done, and it did occur to me, because I'm no accountant, we should have got an accountant on the show. They're really good at kind of pulling apart the budget and briefing us. But I did pick up a couple of little things to talk about.
There'll be loads of that today, right? Loads of accountants giving you the lowdown, dissecting what the Chancellor has said, how it will affect you, and that you're right, they're brilliant at it. You get a chance to tune into an accountant today, they will set you straight. But the Breakfast Business Show is different. Let's give you our opinion. What's going on?
Well,
I'm just still giggling because Boris dressed up as Grandad. I'm just loving it.
Well, we're going to do our best on this. We're going to do our best just to pick out a couple of the things. Look, it was all about, let's spend some money. There's some good things coming. Of course, if you're looking for an increase in your salary, the national living wage is to increase by 6.6% to £9.50 an hour. That kicks in on the 1st of April next year. If you thought you were going to get that for Christmas, you're not. Of course, let's look at it from a different point of view. We are the Business Breakfast Show, and we're there to support our fellow business owners. Nick and I run businesses and employ people as well. Of course, that is if you're paying the minimum wage and now got to increase it. For some businesses, that's a huge impact. It doesn't sound a lot, does it? 50, 60 pence that is going to go up by, but that's quite a big, if you've got a big team around you, all of a sudden your wage bill is going to inflate quite dramatically. On the flip side of that, how do they cover that cost? Well, to me, that says we're going to have to raise our prices slightly to generate that little bit of extra income to cover those inflation costs of wages. How's it going to impact you?
Be good to hear from the audience, right? If you've got certainly hospitality, I imagine there's teams in hospitality that are at that kind of minimum wage, living wage level. If you've got a few of them, does it make a difference to your bottom line? Yes. What do you do about that? Do you just take it from your profits, or do you tweak things up a little bit? The cost of living, where you say, is going to go up, right? And is it because all of these other things are going to impact the bottom line, right? You've got to keep an eye on the profit. And what do you do to increase your profit? You become more efficient, or you increase your prices. So yeah, I'd be interested, audience. What are you doing? What do you think? What does next year look like from a profit point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. What is that? What does it mean to you? Now, a couple of other things I've picked out here as well. You're going to love this one, Nick. The planned rise in fuel duty has been cancelled due to the highest pump prices in 8 years. Well, thank God for that, because we were talking about it on the show last night. Fuel prices through the roof. Obscene.
I was outraged, mate. I was outraged. No wonder there's not blooming queues at the pumps anymore. Ridiculous. Take out a second mortgage, mate, to fill up your car.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you can put fuel in your car, it'll be worth more in your car. A couple of little things. If you've got children, schools to get an extra 4.7 billion by 2024 and 25. And there'll be nearly 2 billion of new funding to help schools and colleges to recover from the pandemic. So again, it's all about this spending, lots of good spending. Not too many cuts in there. Actually, there was a pint of beer. It was going down by about 4 pence, potentially. So
it's not going down.
Yeah.
I tell you what, audience, if you go to the pub and the person behind the bar says, "Oh, it's cheaper today than it was yesterday," thanks, Chancellor, that's never going to happen. No one is putting down their price.
They're going to keep it themselves, aren't they?
They might not put it up. Right, but no one is saying, "Oh, we've knocked 5." Maybe Mr. Weatherspoon, but no one else going to knock 5p off a pint. No way.
Let me just balance that off the other side. There is planned rises in duty on spirits, wine, cider has been cancelled as well. So it's good that we're not getting any raises at this point. But of course, this is a budget all about kind of setting up for the next election. Some say the next election will happen as soon as next year. And of course, that's what's happening. They're getting it all planned, keeping us on side. So we put the vote in the right box. We put our cross in the box that we feel is going to be right. Let's not get political. We're not a political channel. We're not going to talk about, who we support, what colours we pin to our chest. But let's be honest. Are any of them going to do a great job these days? Who would you vote for if there was choice? You've got to vote. Otherwise, you can't moan and whinge about it afterwards. So we'll go and vote. But who would you vote for? Who is going to change the country and, change your way of living. It's going to be a tough one when we get to that next year. We'll talk more about it then. But
yeah, and a supplementary question, right? Who do you trust? Right?
Yeah.
Before you decide who you vote for, who do you trust? I think that there's a big question around that.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think
let us know in the chat. Go boo to whoever. Yeah, let us know.
Well, I think these are two gents that you should be trusting. Okay, award-winning. Here they are. Look at that. Dressed up, looking very spandangly. But yes, this is Nick and I at the awards last week, and we did pick up. In fact, we didn't. Oh, here we are. Here we are receiving our Novo Award on stage for the best business chat show. There we are. Nick is looking at that. Going,
mate,
I want to get. Can you tell?
Can you tell which of the two of us has never won an award before? I've got a certain Gollum about me there, staring at my precious.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great evening. Thank you very much to the Novo Awards and the Growth Hub. We had a great time. It was a pleasure to be there. And of course, we loved picking up our award, which we are shouting about and telling the world that we are now a award-winning chat show. And watch this space. Hopefully more of that will follow in the coming 6 to 8 months. We'll pick up some more awards as we reach more destinations and more people join us and watch the show. So to help us, please stab that like button. Please, subscribe to our channel. Do give us, a thumbs up and a like. It all helps, because without you, our listeners, our viewers, we couldn't do this show, because otherwise we'll be broadcasting to fresh air. So thank you very much for that. Right. Well, that's the news. That's the updates. I tell you, it's really time. After this, when we get back, we're going to get our first guests onto the show. And that was just enough time. Thank you. Feet on the ground. Just enough time to have a quick swig on the cup of tea before we get our guests into the studio to find out more about them. Now, this morning's show, this part of the show is around well-being, health, fitness, sports, how it's helping people, young adults, and much older adults as well, children, to become fitter, to become more healthy, and to become more connected. Please welcome into the studio this morning Alex Bassan from the Change Foundation and Simon Smallbone from, hold on, sorry, I'm just clicking here, from StepTribe. Click, click, click. There we go. Sorry, guys.
Good morning.
Technology. Morning. Welcome to both of you. Simon, Alex, thank you for joining us in the studio this morning. Simon, a friend of the show, been here several months ago. We'll pick up a little bit more about that and StepTribe and where that's up to, the project that's coming to an app store near you later on this year, early into 2022. But Alex, we've met before, but tell us a little bit more about the Change Foundation and what the Change Foundation does.
Thanks, David, and good morning, gents. So yes, I'm Alex Bassan, Head of Business Development at the Change Foundation. For the last 40 years, the Change Foundation has been using sport to create transformational change in young people's lives. We currently deliver programs to a variety of different young people from troubled backgrounds, or may have a disability, maybe a refugee, a young person in care, to use sport as a tool, as a vehicle to create that positive change. We currently deliver that in London. We also work across the UK with partner organisations, and we've also worked in 39 different countries, which was one of the places I met the brilliant Simon Smallbone there.
So thanks for that.
Like a load of positive stuff. Must be a joy every day, Alex, to get up, get cracking with. It must be so positive. Must be, who's got a better job than that, right? Must be a joy to start work every morning.
It is, Nick. I've been very fortunate. I've been with the organisation for 15 years. I actually started as a young person myself, being brought through the charity, went on to an apprenticeship, learnt my trade through being a coach, and then worked my way through into different various roles. Once I understood what the charity sector meant, and actually we've got to go find money to do this sort of stuff. I thought people just gave it to us. So I've now stepped into that role. But it's great to see that there are young people that I were working with 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that are now working in jobs, sustainable, all working for us, creating the same change. But I don't know, one of my best mates is a private airline pilot, and that's a pretty good job too. But yeah, I'll take this. I'll take this as a close second.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alex. So Simon, a friend of the show, been here before, but for those that haven't heard kind of your story, just give us a refresh on what it is that you're up to in StepTribe and what it is you're trying to achieve and make a difference.
Great, thanks, David, and thanks for inviting me again onto your now award-winning business show. Great to be here, and also with Alex. And the Change Foundation does an amazing job and using sport to change young people's lives. And I'm coming at from a slightly different angle about how we use health and fitness to get people more physically active. And the last time I was on the show, I gave some amazing facts and figures. For example, that we're only walking 9 minutes per day on average in the UK. Partly down to COVID. But even the World Health Organization is talking about how we are not physically active enough, not doing enough movement in our lives. 81% of adolescents are inactive. 1 in 4 adults are inactive, and as and that's around the world. And as your economy gets more developed, so let's keep going with UK being a developed economy, despite some of the headlines that you have been talking about, it gets even worse. Up to 70% of adults are inactive. So I set up StepTribe as a app aiming to get people more active, and it's coming out at the end of this year. We're halfway through the development stage, so I'm still really excited that we're on track for that launch. And it's all about creating walking challenges to do with your friends and family that gets people up off of their chairs, out walking to complete this challenge. And they'll also be able to raise sponsorship, fundraising for great causes, for example, like Alex and the Change Foundation, which are making such an amazing difference.
Scary stats, Simon, and they must just resonate. Alex, you must see this, the difference that activity, sports, even getting off your backside and going for a walk makes to not just our physical health, but our mental health as well. I know, I'm a runner, right? Love running. And I feel it when I don't get chances to go running, 2-3 days without a run. I feel it right in my head as well as in my body. But yeah, it must have a massive mental impact as well.
Yeah, it's huge, especially, all the young people we work with. And actually, we've been doing some intergenerational programs as well, where you've got an older community mixing with a younger community. And as you said, it's not just about the physical element all the time, even though getting up, obesity is something that's a huge issue in this country and across the world, but it's that mental side. It's all it's the interaction, the communication. It's also the other skills you learn, winning, losing gracefully, decision making, leadership, teamwork. It's all of those things that ultimately create what our community, what we're about. All those key things, being able to connect via an interest that we all like, whether it's running groups, playing football, rugby, cricket, netball. In a sense, the sport becomes the thing that just brings us all together. It's everything else that the sport does physically and that helps us mentally that actually is the important things, which I think we all know people or ourselves, which we lost during the current pandemic, which put some people in a very, very dark place. And it's things like StepTribe and some of the activities that we run at the charity that have enabled people to get back out, back up, get more physically fit, but more importantly, mentally fit, and work on our mental fitness as well.
Yeah, and it is important, isn't it? We keep active. I mean, we all understand the reasons of keeping active, from a fitness perspective, but from a mindset as well. And Alex, you've got some great videos on your YouTube channel which really show how these young adults are interacting. They're working together as a team. That teamwork comes into play so many times when you watch some of these videos. The leadership, how they deal with challenges and come up with solutions to it, but all in the aid of using sport to be able to do that. And you've got some, great people that are helping back the projects as well and working with you to spread the news and spread the words as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's one of the biggest things that we find, and one of the biggest things that we use as a charity is that innovate and share. You know, we want to innovate. We want to do things and try things that other people may be scared to go and do. You know, so whether it was COVID that's put in the way of us, oh my God, do we step back? No, let's step through COVID. Let's just keep trying things and innovate. But once we've done it, let's share it with the rest of with our community. You know, with the rest of charity partners, supporters, whoever it is, so we can keep continuing to make that change. And that was important, especially for the young people that we work with, that we just didn't take a step back. You know, it could have been easy to take a step back and fall in line. Well, no, let's keep driving forward. Let's keep trying to break down these barriers and ensure that the young people we're working with still have, kind of coach mentors and people that they can turn to during the darkest times. So I think that's important. And that can't happen without the dedication of the staff, but also the partnerships we are building with businesses, with other charities to enable us to continue to do that work.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. All right, so it's quite a big picture we're talking about. So on one side, it's fitness and it's health, and on the other side, it's building that community, and no doubt a host of conversations, healthy conversations around that. And I guess, Simon, this when Alex talks about innovating, that's what StepTribe is all about, right? It's taking technology, using that, innovating to get people off their backsides and starting on that journey that leads to all good things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the technology that is stopping some of that inactivity. So what we've taken on with StepTribe is to say the technology is part of the problem. Let's embrace the problem and use the problem to get people more active. So we're looking at how an app can get people off of their chairs outside and taking those steps, and how we can make that challenge interactive, fun, work part of a community, because you're part of a tribe of your friends and family, which we know motivates people to do that physical activity. And then coming a bit later, this sponsorship part, which we know with events like the London Marathon, how many people go and do the London Marathon when previously they wouldn't have thought about doing any running whatsoever, but to raise £2,000, £3,000 for charities like the Change Foundation, we know that has a positive impact. But we also know that we can talk about sport and fitness, but sometimes with certain parts of the population, the use of the language sport and fitness puts people off. We think about sport and fitness being a gym, being dressed in lycra, the effort of having to go to a gym, go to a swimming pool, being seen in public sweating. These are genuine issues that put people off physical activity. And I think what's really important to say to people is that physical activity and fitness doesn't necessarily have to be like that. We know there are huge benefits of just a 10-minute brisk walk every day. So you can go in your jeans and t-shirt outside, make an effort to walk a bit faster than you might normally do for 10 minutes every day. You've got the benefits of fresh air. This brisk walk is helping your cardiovascular health. As I said, the World Health Organization tells us that non-communicable diseases like strokes, like diabetes, like heart disease can help be prevented by physical activity. And just 10 minutes makes a real difference. And that's what StepTribe is encouraging people to do, is to take those steps together as a team and use the problem of technology to do it. And I'd also like to go back to the Ed Sheeran thing that the headline about putting on weight. A recent, I work a lot with Loughborough University, and they've really helped me develop StepTribe and the idea about getting people physically active. And one of their bits of research says that we put on weight as we get older, 0.5 to 1 kilograms per year as we get older, depending on our activity levels. And this comes from their research, just from 100 to 200 calories. Either we're eating 100 to 200 calories too much per day, or we're not burning 100 to 200 calories by our activity. So this is a tiny amount on a daily basis, which could be knocked off with your 10-minute walk. So my message with physical activity is, great, sports, brilliant, I love it. Running, brilliant, I love it. But for some people, that's not the case, and they don't need to be put off by that. Get out, 10 minutes will do you the world of good.
So if I hear you right, Simon, what you're suggesting to me, if I go out and walk for 10 minutes a day, I can still have my wine, beer, and chicken wings. It sounds a great trade-off.
and it's even cheaper. Well, wine's not, but your beer is.
Yeah, the beer's a bit cheaper.
It's not cheaper.
No, it's not cheaper.
Brilliant. So with both of you, how did you two meet? What was how did you come together? Obviously, Change Foundation, StepTribe, obviously your worlds collided at some point to start having that conversation. Where was that? Where was the date nights?
God,
we
Simon,
were
I'll
in,
let you tell it well.
Okay, well, I don't know if I will. We were invited to a workshop in Spain for the EuroLeague basketball team. So it was all of the top level basketball teams in Europe, which coincidentally tie in pretty much with a lot of the top football clubs. So Barcelona, Real Madrid, amongst Panathinaikos, Maccabi Tel Aviv, amongst others. And we were there to educate them on the power of sport within or the power of basketball in their case, within their communities. So Alex did a great job doing different basketball activities to show them how they can make basketball, for example, inclusive, gender inclusive. And that's the subject that I talk to the basketball clubs about how we need to make sport gender inclusive, because that was my, let's say, my first background within sport, and my first passion about how we make sport accessible to both boys and girls at a young age. I think that's about right.
And then, yeah, that was exactly it. And then we absolutely connected. We obviously realised, Simon, myself, and the charity had very similar values. We've had very, very similar interests, and that was about 3 or 4 years ago now. And we've just stayed in contact ever since, and supported each other through various different projects. And it's led to working together and supporting, especially Simon with StepTribe, which is definitely something that we think is brilliant, and will definitely support as a charity, as an organisation, and individually.
Brilliant. It's a great conversation in the right location, and you're absolutely right, sharing the same values. It's similar story that David and I could tell. Similar mindsets. Some time ago we met, and a number of conversations, and here we are. And great feedback coming in, gents. That Laura Northeast, loving the work that you're doing. Really important for both mental and physical health. Thank you, Laura. Lovely to hear from you. Glad that you're enjoying the show. So yeah, great work. And do you think motivation is an issue, Simon, Alex? You're talking about the technology. It's there to help, but it's also a hindrance. Alex, do you see that motivation is an issue? Are people more likely to sit in their rooms on their games machines, or are they coming to you in droves? Do we have an issue with motivation?
I don't know if motivation's the issue. I think it's ease. What's easy, and a lot of things are at the end of fingertips now. As Simon said, phones, consoles, laptops, whatever it may be. So it's very easy to say, "Oh, I'll just quickly do this. I'll just quickly do that. Oh, I'll pick that up. I'll do it tomorrow." So I don't think motivation is always necessary. I think it's easy. So it's how do we make it easier? So, for example, our programs, we don't ask young people to travel long distances. We go to them. We're going to make it easy for you. All you've got to do is get out your front door and we're there, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's about how do we break down those barriers to not making it as easy. Now, there's a place for things such as playing online and doing those sorts of things and interacting that way. We've actually seen that there's been a big increase. Actually, if it wasn't for gaming online and esports, COVID could have been an even darker place for some young people. For example, me and my best mate couldn't see each other because we lived a bit further away for nearly 2 years, but we interacted online together quite often, Zooms, etc. So there's a place and a time for it. But now it's starting to become the norm, and we've got to probably take that away from the norm. And how do we break down those barriers to just making things such as your phone, your consoles, your laptops, just easy, where actually it's just as easy to put your trainers on and walk outside.
And I think that's also really important for young people, because we look at sport in a more traditional way. But you look at things that are happening in the world of sport that are making things more interesting and accessible to young people. So like if you're a fan of cricket, now there's the T20 fast evening cricket with a concert at the, where they change batting teams. It's trying to make it more interesting to people. And also I think we also need to think of sport as in a more non-traditional way that is more appealing to young people, and not say that the PlayStation is a bad thing. There are a lot of organizations out there that are now making sport through the PlayStation, doing boxing games where you're actually fighting yourself, fighting against a animated character on the screen. And okay, that's not my personal idea of what sport and activity is about, but that is what's happening in the world. So technology is being used to get people active, and that's what's appealing to the younger generation. So we need to embrace that and make it easy for people to be physically active in the way that they want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Gents, we are coming very close to time where we're going to have to say goodbye, but I did kind of hopefully give you a heads up. A question I love to ask all our guests is a top business tip that you could share with our listeners, our audience today, or maybe your younger self. What would that top tip be? Alex, I'll come to you first. What would your top tip?
Blimey, I mean, I've probably got two that join together. It's that whole, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that network is net worth. And net worth isn't necessarily financial. It's who you are, your values, your morals and everything. So I think if you surround yourself by good people, really good people, and build your network, go out, meet people, understand who they are, learn from them, pick the good things, get rid of the bad things, and share. I think those things, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And your network is your net worth, not just financially, but who you are as your values and culturally as an individual.
Yeah, great tip. And Simon?
I can't remember what I said last time, but I think I have two P's. One is passion and the other is perseverance. I spent too much of my business career doing something I wasn't passionate about, or I hadn't found the thing I was passionate about. And 5-6 years ago, I found the thing that I was passionate about, and now I love what I'm doing, and it's great. The other thing is perseverance. Maybe I needed to persevere to find that passion, but now with my own business, it's having the perseverance to keep seeing things through, and when things don't go as you want them to go, getting up the next day and trying to turn that around, and having the perseverance to keep knocking on those doors and keep moving forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Keith Smith's popped into the chat. Morning all. I live by the phrase that you should break sweat at least once a day. It's a great motivator. Morning, Keith. Joining us from the USA. Keith is a friend of the show. You're up very early as always, Keith. It must be like 3:30 in the morning there. And that's the influence we have on people joining the show. They want to come and listen to our great guests. They're tuning in at 3:30 in the morning. That's obviously we're great or they're mad, one of the two. But thank you, Keith. Both of you, how can people get in touch, find out more about you, if they want to learn more about the Change Foundation? Alex, best way of getting in touch with you?
Please head to our website, changefoundation.org.uk, or find me through LinkedIn. Just type in Alex Bassan, Bassan, and get in touch. If you'd love to find out more, any ways you can get involved. As I said, we're always happy to innovate and share.
Brilliant. And Simon, best way of getting hold of yourself and find out more about StepTribe?
Well, the StepTribe website is steptribe.io, and there's contact us page there, or any of the usual social media channels. Find us at StepTribe or at StepTribe app, depending where you are. And likewise on LinkedIn, please find me at Simon Smallbone. Love to have a chat.
Brilliant, yeah, and actually look out for that app that will be coming to an app store near you for, Get Fit New Year style. Get them steps and get counting and get being part of a tribe. Have a look at the website. That will tell you a lot more about how StepTribe can help you. And of course, look at the Change Foundation if you want to find out how you can get involved. Simon, Alex from StepTribe and from the Change Foundation, thank you very much for joining us this morning and sharing your stories.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Dave.
See you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Okay, we're going to have a quick ad break, and when we're back, we're going to be lining up for our next guest. Whew, great. 4 people in the studio, Nick, makes it extra busy. Lots more conversation, but brilliant start to this morning's show.
Great start, mate. I'm dancing around my blooming hotel room to try and find the best Wi-Fi signal. I'm building some steps in my room. You might notice I'm no longer by the window. That wasn't working.
Hotel
So, yeah,
Wi-Fi.
Fidget Nick. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant, mate. Brilliant. And I'm looking forward to starting our first challenge on the StepTribe app. To get the old Chatbox steps and keep our audience posted with how successful we are being challenging each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to that. Getting the app, getting the steps in. I make a point of actually going out every day. One is to walk my Springer Spaniel, who needs lots of exercise. And that, you're talking 45 minutes of walking a day at a reasonable pace as well, because you seem to, I take him for a walk, he takes me for a walk. You're kind of like that down the road at some pace. But of course, it all adds up and it's all good exercise. Maybe we can do a StepTribe challenge where we challenge ourselves to walk our dogs from here to Everest or something like that. We'll find something fun and creative. So we'll be looking out for that as of 2022, coming to an app store near you. Nick, our next guest is sitting patiently backstage, waiting to come on, tell us more about her journey. Very interesting here, an introduction from a friend of the show, Professor Alan Barrell. Actually, I'm not going to give too much away, but introduced us as Professor Alan Barrell works with our next guest through some mentoring and steering and directing. Anyway, without further ado, please welcome onto the show Georgie Hemingway from Footprint Cafes. Good morning, Georgie.
Good morning, guys. Thank you so much for having us on. Really appreciate it.
No,
you're very, very welcome. Oh, sorry, David. You think after all these shows we'd have this nailed, mate?
It's the delay on the Wi-Fi this morning. I think you're saying, and I'm hearing a few seconds later, which always makes it a little bit more complicated when the internet is not doing its job properly.
Exeter is a long way away from Chelmsford. That's for sure, mate. That's for sure. After you, David.
Thanks, Nick. So, Georgie, welcome to the show. Look, it's looking very nice and sunshine and warm where you are. Whereabouts are you in the world, Georgie?
I'm on the beautiful island of Koh Phangan in Thailand. So, yes, I'm very lucky. It's a beautiful sunny day here. As you might see. Would you like to see it?
Yeah, yes. Please do. Go on, make us all jealous.
Okay, there's the lake. There you go. There's the beautiful sunshine.
Wow. Look at that. That's... Wow. Yeah. Everyone's going to be like, I want to go on holiday now.
Hold on.
Please come.
Hold on. You reckon that's good? Hold tight.
Oh.
I'm in Exeter. Look, hold on. Hey. Oh no. Your lake's been stolen. Someone stole the lake.
Not quite the same, Nick. Unfortunately, on this occasion, you lose. Georgie, Footprint Cafes.
Yes.
Obviously, for those that have never met you, never heard anything about it, tell us a little bit of the backstory, what it's about, how it come around, and why you're in Thailand at this particular time as well.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Footprint actually started, the idea of it started in Cambodia. So I went to Cambodia for the first time in 2012. And I saw there sort of firsthand how there was mass tourism present in towns like Siem Reap and Phnom Penh, but often for many families and the community itself, it wasn't really working as well as it could. So you'd have these giant amazing hotels and fantastic restaurants, but a few streets away you would still have roads without any pavements or communities with very little access to quality schooling. Now, one small cafe is not going to change this, and that's what Footprint Cafes is. Essentially, it's a small cafe. But what I sort of noticed as a tourist there at the time was like, you enjoyed being a tourist, but you also noticed this sort of this poverty around you, and unless you had time to sort of stop and volunteer, it was really difficult to know what to do, because often people would approach you in the street for money. Children, you would see children at night walking along the street, going through rubbish bags to get food. And you'd really be sort of confronted with these two different worlds. And so footprint cafes came about as an idea of like an easy way for tourists to give back to the communities in which they were visiting. So they could go to a cafe and they'd know that they get a great service, wonderful atmosphere, good food, and know that 100% of profits from those cafes were going back to the communities that you were visiting. And our mission is in fact not just a sort of getting profit for the communities. Our mission is encapsulated by the 3 Ps: people, planet, profit. So people is treating our teams the best way that we can, being the best employees that we can. So that's doing match fund saving schemes and supporting them going into competitions and paid maternity and paternity leave. And then planet, we try and do all that we can to look after the planet, whether that's recycling our coffee grounds or giving our cooking oil to somebody to upcycle it into biodiesel and soap, not using plastic in our supply chain. So people, planet, profit is really kind of what motivates us and kind of makes us stand out as a cafe, as something a bit different from other cafes in town. It's all about sort of, I should also say that the money that we generate through profits, where that goes is decided by the local community. So it's the people who make the money who also decide where that money goes and how it's spent. So it's empowering local communities, hopefully one cafe at a time.
I'd like to, that's superb, Georgie. I'd like to think as the world opens up a bit more and people start to travel again, they do open their eyes to whatever's round the corner. What's the real? What's it really like? And start to think about, okay, yeah, how do I do something to give back to that community that is glitzy here, but you turn over here and actually there's ridiculous levels of poverty. And I think every organization, and so everybody who's listening, ask yourself the question, right? People, planet, profit. Surely every business should have those 3 Ps written across their doors. And is it in that order? Is it in that order, or does the order?
We tend to say it in that order, but yes, no, absolutely. I mean, I think absolutely every business should look at itself and ask what is it doing in those areas, for sure. Not, we are a social enterprise, so we can give 100% of our profits back to the local community because we're a social enterprise. Not all businesses can do that, but certainly the first 2 Ps, how are you treating your people? What is your footprint on the environment, is something every business should be asking itself. And I think you're absolutely right about sort of looking at, tourism, taking a break and reflecting, and as we sort of hopefully start to move again and reconnect again, looking at what do we do when we visit these communities? What's our impact on these communities? And I think, tourism is going to have a reboot, and hopefully it can be a reboot for the better.
Talk about books.
Books, yes.
Books, obviously, it's a great foundation of what it is that you're doing. 8,000 books you collected. Tell us a little bit more about that story.
Yes, absolutely amazing. Well, the idea, so as I said, Footprint was, the idea for it came about in Cambodia, and we've got our second cafe now in Thailand, which is where I'm talking to you from. But the idea for it actually came from New York, a wonderful place called Housing Works Bookshop, and it's a secondhand bookshop in New York. If you're visiting New York or you're in New York now and you haven't been, I thoroughly recommend that you go. It's a wonderful place. It's run by volunteers, and the money for this place also goes back to sort of homeless charity. But I spent some time in New York, and I used to go there every day to work, and I just loved the atmosphere and I loved the concept. Having spent some time in Housing Works Bookshop, when I was thinking of an idea for Cambodia and what we could do, that sort of stuck in my mind. So the cafes for Footprint are all book cafes. And when we started, we asked the Cambridge community to please kindly start us off with, some book donations, and the business community, both Alan and Darren Disley as well, the chair of our trustees, asked their business networks to donate books. And we managed to collect over 8,000 from family, friends and local businesses and university departments. Which was amazing. We weren't expecting nearly that many. In fact, we haven't had to do another book drive since, but we may have to do another one in the not too distant future. But yes, it's lasted us for sort of 5 years, which has been great.
That's phenomenal. Great coffee, great. All the profits going back to the community, and you get to read cool books as well.
Yeah.
Which, one of those things, you read a book, you put it on your shelf, and it just gathers dust. These things should be shared, right? People should open their eyes
Well, definitely in the UK, that's I've got my books currently in storage in the UK, and you're absolutely right, because they're relatively cheap. Lots of people love to read. You go to a community like Siem Reap in Cambodia, or in fact even here in Koh Phangan in Thailand, it's actually very difficult to get good books. And so for me, I think books are magical. I think they create a very special atmosphere. And so having a place where you're surrounded by books just feels very homely and warm. But for many communities, it's something very different. Currently, our manager Pekde in Siem Reap, we talk regularly, and he tells me about the market has changed a lot there since COVID. So our market has switched from being one of mass international tourism to being an internal market within Cambodia. And he's telling me that people are traveling up to Phnom Penh to go to the cafe, but also to get pictures of themselves next to bookshelves, because we think of it as being this very common thing that you see everywhere, and it's actually not the case. So a book cafe can be, I think they're always magical, but they can be very different, very special in certain communities, because they're not that apparent everywhere.
So
Wow.
I've clearly taken that for granted, right? I'm a massive book fan, and I'm surrounded by books, and I think, well, that's just the way things are, and really appreciated that other parts of the world, that's actually, no, Nick, that's not how things are. But people would go and take pictures because you've got a load of books behind
but yes,
you.
you will always find bibliophiles. You might not find books, but I think you will generally always find bibliophiles, and where you put the books, the bibliophiles come, and it creates a very special atmosphere. It's really lovely.
And it becomes an enterprise hub. Is that right, Georgie? That certainly the cafe in Cambodia has got more of an enterprise feel as well.
That was a really exciting pivot from us, actually. So we started it off as a cafe, the book cafe. It was doing very well. And then we had this space upstairs that wasn't being used. And so we wanted to convert it into co-working, sort of digital nomads and the like. Footprint was supported by Cambridge Judge Business School's the Social Ventures Scheme. I attended that for a year. Belinda Bella's director. And it was just incredibly useful for networks, for meeting other people who were also starting enterprises, to learn about, sort of measuring your impact, and just having that ecosystem was so important in creating confidence and creating that network. And so we really wanted to do the same in Cambodia. And so we turned it into a co-working space, but we also turned it into an enterprise center, and we fostered visitors. So we had Cambridge Judge Business School, their social ventures program, come and teach for a week. And we also it's called the Darren M. Disley Enterprise Hub, because it really does sort of it's in tune with his values. The idea of making using enterprise to help individuals and communities flourish. We're very proud of it. We've had Cambridge there. We've had some book launches there. Thavi Thon, who is an original Cambodian author, she did a book launch there. Her brother, actually, Riti Turl, he invented Cambodia's first family-designed laptop, it's designed to be affordable to most families in Cambodia. He did a workshop and launched it there, which was also very exciting. And we had things like Cambodia Reading Club, which is a club that meets once a month, and it's just young children coming together to read together. So it's got a huge variety of uses, but it really has become very much like a heart of the community, and it's a sort of springboard for other ventures and other activities. We've got two permanent members of the hub as well. She Investments, who help women to scale their businesses, and Sonus World, which they look at communities and sort of helping them to develop enterprise within their community. So there's a springboard for a lot of things there. It's very exciting.
Amazing, absolutely amazing stories. And other people agree with that. David Bancroft, love it. The triple bottom line: people, planet, and profits. Couldn't agree more, David, with you on that. And another friend of the show, often tuning in, and also been on the show as well, and a very successful recruitment company. And he talked about, people being a big part of any success, and supporting obviously the planet, and profits are all important, because if a business can make profits, then obviously it can reinvest those into whatever cause it wants to put that profit back into. Obviously, it could, from a corporate point of view, yes, it kind of keeps the walls up and keeps the shareholders happy. But from a social enterprise, it's about obviously changing other people and the community, which is what you're focusing on. Let's just talk a little bit more about the pandemic.
Okay.
Tourism probably dropped off dramatically for you, as amongst many other tourist attractions around the world. But what did you do? How did you, cope during, and I assume still to a degree, challenging times as well?
Oh, yes. No, we're still very much in the challenging times, for sure. I mean, tourism dropped 80% in Siem Reap. There are literally, I've been told that virtually no tourists on the streets. They've had several very hard lockdowns as well, which meant the cafes had to shut. So there was a lot to deal with. To begin with, because of simple things like curfews, we just had to change operations. So we stopped our operations being as long as they were, or changing to delivery service. We had to stop doing the nice things that we do that makes our business a little more expensive than others to run, like the match fund saving scheme, like the personal development grants, and just really kind of go to a very sort of financially light model to try and ride it out. We put it to our team as well, how they would like to sort of deal with it. Did people want to take voluntary sort of a redundancy, and we decided that we would reduce hours and reduce wages to maintain reduced operating hours. Over time, some people went to set up their own businesses, other people moved to Phnom Penh. So we now have a skeleton crew. From our original 16, we now have 5 staff. But whenever somebody comes back and asks for their old job back, we do rehire. So we're trying to be as fair as possible, but we cannot maintain the operations that were there before. The market has also changed dramatically. So whereas before we were serving international travelers and having, funky music and a wide vegan menu and books was something that really appealed. We know now that our books still really appeal, but our customer base are mainly Cambodian, and so our menu has changed a lot to cater for that. Rather than having eggs hollandaise, we have fried chicken and rice. Our music has changed dramatically as well. It's one that appeals to like a younger Cambodian audience. So in a way, it's also been a nice pivot. It's been a nice change, because before we were catering for the market that was there, and it's all very international. In some ways, it was very alien to our team. Now it's in some ways a very different cafe. The books have remained the same, the decorations remain the same, the music has changed, and the menu has changed, but it's still got it's kind of appealing to the internal market now, which I think is actually quite a nice thing too. When tourism comes back, we'll see how we'll diversify again.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, right? You know, you're a business after all. You got to make sure the business keeps ticking over, even though the market is changing. And now you're in Thailand to do it all again.
Yes.
All right. So this is the second one. What do you need? What do you need to make Thailand as successful as Cambodia?
Well, tourists would be nice.
Tourists, yes, please. Yeah. COVID hit actually as we were setting up Thailand, and Thailand's renovations had been delayed already. So we were planning to open up Thailand just the same as Cambodia, early morning, late night, 7 days a week with a rotating double shift team. As soon as COVID hit and lots of uncertainties entered, we had no idea when it was going to end, and we still really don't know when it's going to end. There's lots of talk. Hopefully it's going to be in the next couple of months. So we decided to start very small. We've got a 2-woman team, and our menu is really simple. Our drinks are very simple. It's a very kind of calm cafe with a nice lake view with a very simple menu. It's not what Footprint in Siem Reap was when it was open. But we really hope when tourism returns and we know it's time to up the game, then we will diversify the menu, get more team members in, and hopefully create that bustly cafe atmosphere that we like to create. So,
yeah, I think there's a need for people to travel. They, I say a need, a want. People have been locked away for too long. I know some are getting away and doing some local traveling and stuff like that, but I know Thailand is on many people's bucket list to travel to and see, and hopefully that will come back round in the not too distant future. The tourists will venture out and people will come to the cafe and sit down and enjoy a book, and have something to eat with a fantastic
Absolutely, yeah. No. And as I said, I really do think it's an opportunity for tourism. I mean, tourism hopefully will return. Hopefully, the tourism that does return will be a new kind of tourism, a tourism that is a bit more mindful of where it is and what it's doing and its impact. You know, Koh Phangan, where I am, is famous for the full moon party. It's great economically, in terms, you know, financial stimulus for the local economy. But often it has a lot of plastic waste. There's often a lot of crime associated with it. There's often, you know, a lot of injuries for motorcycle accidents. So it's about looking at what went before and trying to bring it back. So you have that reconnection and you have that, you know, those positives, but hopefully doing something to mitigate the negatives that went before, and having maybe a better type of tourism and a better kind of gathering together.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think if nothing else, we've learned a lot about ourselves, and that's changed our view of the world. So I'd like to think people will be more mindful when they are allowed to travel to places like Thailand, and they'll appreciate it. Oh gosh, they'll definitely appreciate it more, but appreciate it in more depth as well.
Yes, I hope that's true. You please have an open invite to both of you to come here anytime that you like. You'd be more than welcome.
Are you at the cafe? At your cafe now?
Yes.
So this is what it looks like. All right, look at this.
Oh, look at that! Yeah.
Would you like a mini tour?
Yeah, let's do it.
A very mini tour. Yeah. Okay, hold on 1 second. Whoop.
I see books.
There's books. There's books and old boats. Hold on.
Books in old boats. What's
jar.
not to like?
There's jar.
Good morning.
More books. And then a wonderful ceiling, a very high, wonderful ceiling.
That's fantastic.
That's superb, isn't it? We should get there, David. Yeah. David, you and I, mate.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'll have to take the wife, Nick. Otherwise, I will be in trouble. Of course. But no, look. Thank you for the invite. And as soon as travel becomes a little bit more normalised, I will come over. I've never been to Thailand. Actually, it's on my list of countries to visit. So I'm going to.
Please
I'm
come.
going to exit on there. Footprint Cafe. We're coming close to the end of the show, but a couple of questions just to wrap up. Firstly, I always ask our guests for a top business tip. You've obviously gone through some dramatic setups, certainly in a country which is not your origin. That's always challenging in itself. I know that personally. But if you could give advice to your younger self, or maybe to someone that's starting a business today, what would that be?
Yes. There are so many things to probably do differently. I do think one of the things I learned certainly setting up this cafe in Thailand is that I heard earlier someone saying that, you know, take from people what you admire about them, find people that you admire and take. I would 100% agree with that. Like if you meet somebody and you admire something about them, think about what is it that I admire about them, and is it something that I could have, or can I? I think with our second cafe that the plan was actually to get our management team over here as quickly as possible to kind of help create the same sort of culture, but COVID prevented that. So I was like, oh my goodness, now I have to be the Pexe of this, this cafe. So yeah, definitely when you're around people that you admire, really think about like, what is it? I would a second piece of advice. I actually I used to work in Parliament, and I asked an MP that I worked for once this, like, what advice would he give to a young person starting off in politics? And he said to me, you will meet the same people on the way down as you do on the way up. So treat everybody with respect and kindly. I don't think I don't think business is quite as brutal as politics, but I definitely agree with the sentiment that, everything has highs and lows, and it's good to appreciate the people that were good to you, and to reciprocate that when you can, and to appreciate that it's not always going to be that way, and there will be lows as well, and to treat people and to treat yourself with as much dignity and respect in those times as well.
Yeah, absolutely. People, and it's I've written that down, by the way. People, planet, profits, because I think that's a great one. And people, as you just said there, you meet the same people on the way up as you do on the way down as well. And I think that's something we should all absolutely remember. So the Footprint Cafes, if people want to find out more about Georgie, if they want to find out more about the Footprint Cafes, how can they do that? I do have the website, so that's obviously one avenue to find out more.
Please. Footprintcafes.org. Please go find out more about us. We've also got Instagram accounts for our cafes and our hubs. So that's Footprint Cafes Kopanyang, Footprint Cafes Siem Reap, and Footprint Cafes Hub. We also have a Twitter account as well, so you can see us, and Facebook accounts. So please do, if you're interested, please find out more about us. Or if you'd like to write to me directly, Georgie at footprintcafes.org. That's that's one footprint, many cafes, footprintcafes.org. We're actually, we're looking, we're sort of looking to expand soon. So we will be going for another funding round. If anyone is interested in talking to us about funding rounds, we'd be very interested to talk to you too. We're looking to expand in other locations in Cambodia because we think that's where this model is needed most at the moment.
Fantastic. So they really want to get involved, not just come along and to experience the cafe, but they want to be part of the journey. They'll be able to have some type of investment into that and be part of it and integral in not so much in the decisions, but in kind of the funding and making it actually happen.
Absolutely, yes. Yep. Brilliant.
Georgie Hemingway, it's been a pleasure having you on here this morning, making us all jealous of the sunshine and the weather and the great ambience around you. We wish you all the best with the Footprint Cafes. We will come and see you, I promise. I'm not quite sure when it will be, but I'm going to come there and enjoy a book and a nice cup of something and something to eat, and really look forward to meeting you in person as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. We look forward to it.
Thanks, Georgie.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Oh, well, Nick, that was great. Seeing the sunshine, looking at that lake.
Brilliant, right? I look out my hotel window and wonder, what am I doing wrong? You know, I should be in Thailand, right? And oh man, what a beautiful idea, beautiful concept, and a beautiful location as well. Fantastic.
And for someone that's an author and likes to write books, what a better place to sit and get your ideas jotted down in your journal. You know, for your next book.
Full well, I would sneak one of my books onto the shelf, right?
just one. No, you could do better than one. In fact, Georgie, we'll get some books over to you. We'll get Nick's latest book over to put on your shelf. I'm not quite sure how we do it. We'll get the address and we'll put it there. And you can take us a photo, Georgie, and send it back to Nick. He'd love that.
Oh, yeah.
Mad. Brilliant. Well, that's it this week. Three great guests joining us on the show. Georgie Hemingway from Footprint Cafes, Simon Smallbone from StepTribe, and Alex Bassan from the Change Foundation. What a morning it's been. What a magical hour. Fantastic to have all those great conversations. But yeah, it's gone 9 o'clock. We've overrun and the time has come that we must say goodbye. But we are back next week. Next Thursday morning, 8 a.m. We're back for the Business Breakfast Show, live and broadcasting to wherever you are tuning in from. Do subscribe, do give us a thumbs up, do share. And if you want to join us on the show, do visit our website, chatboxproductions.com, where you can find out more information. That's it. We're done. Another Thursday morning, and it's time to go and have breakfast.
Great stuff. Thank you, guests. Cheerio.
Bye-bye.